Hey, welcome back to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we discuss all things concerning this beautiful corner of Northern California known as the County of Sonoma. I'm your host once again, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. Thank you for joining us, where we're celebrating the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and I think we've celebrated with the longest week of the year. It's been an amazing, eventful week, and to join us today, we have a great honor to have with us Sonoma County Supervisor James Gore, who represents the 4th District, which, if you don't know, extends from northern Santa Rosa to the Mendocino County line. And that's been a scene of a lot of activity this week. But before we talk to James, here's the trivia question for the week. We know that the average human runs about 5 to 6 miles per hour. Now, if you're training for the Olympics, it might be more in the 10 mile per hour range. The question for you is, how fast is the average wildfire? If you know, call us at 565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Once again, that's publicaffairs, one word, @sonoma-county.org. And if you're correct, you'll be entered into a chance to win one of our limited edition SoCo Chat coffee mugs. We hope you take advantage of that, and we'll send us your answer, and we'll announce your name on our next podcast. Well, with that, let's get to Supervisor Gore. Thank you for joining us.
Very happy to be here, Paul.
Well, it's exciting to get you, and particularly on such a busy week. Now, we need to start with the biggest news, which is the Point Fire, which broke out Sunday afternoon on Father's Day, no less. I know you were celebrating with your family, as we all were. The good news is that despite the high winds on Sunday and Monday, with a little uncertainty there, fire crews were able to contain it to about a little over 1,200 acres. Now, there were 10 structures that were lost as part of this. But James, as you've done in previous fires, you were out there on the front lines each day, streaming on your Facebook, giving the residents an update. What stood out to you about this particular fire?
Well, I'll start by just saying what stood out to me was the immediate surge response.
Yeah.
That one team, one mission mentality that showed results on the ground. You know, you can't have these fires or these kinds of events without going back in your mind to 2017, the Sonoma Complex fires, the Tubbs, the Nuns, the Pocket, but really that Northern California firestorm, and even a year or 2 years before with the Valley Fire, and just remind yourself about how much we were on our heels in those days. Still, it was amazing, the response that was happening. It was efficient, it was productive, but it wasn't at the level of what the disaster was. And so if I look at it, really, the first thing is fire started. It started right next to on a road, right next to a marina that had a lot of people going in and out on Father's Day.
Right by Lake Sonoma,
Probably human caused. It flashed straight into difficult terrain and territory. Winds picked up, but yet at the same time, fire responded extremely quickly. Unified command with the sheriff's office and emergency management called for not just evacuation warning, but immediately afterwards, evacuation order to get those folks out of the way so they could do the work, the active work. Incident command with Mark Hine and CAL FIRE Division Chief for this area, Ben Nichols, did an all call, which is all local resources. So as the mutual aid came, they were already going after it, and they pounded it. And the wind is always the changing element here, but this is an area that wants to burn. It's a traditional fire area, so it's not like this is a surprise. It was a blessing that it was a onshore wind fire and that the winds fell down, as opposed to these offshore events that we have in the fall with the Diablo winds. And it was just extremely impressive. So I was inspired to be a witness to that, but also, as always, my job is to make sure that there aren't any gaps forming, that mutual aid or county resources are there, and that people have good, relevant information that keeps them calm as we're dealing with that.
Well, and like you said, they pounded on it. What was amazing in many respects was that this happened so early in the season. I mean, this is June, and we just got a report about how, hey, with our high green levels, the rains we've had this winter, there's a lot of moisture out there. There wasn't as big a concern that something like this could happen, and yet it did. Is that a warning sign about what's ahead for us?
Yeah, Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, so we haven't had a big fire since 2020
Yeah.
in the midst of the
Knock on wood.
pandemic.
Yeah.
That was not good.
Yeah.
You know, we've had really the end of our drought. We've had 2 beautiful rain seasons
Mhm.
that haven't just been the flash flood that we were having previously in the middle of the drought, but really long, elongated rain seasons where
Mhm.
we had good groundwater, penetration, the reserves going up, the lakes are full, and so there's a sense of why is
Mhm.
this happening? But I think it's a reminder that this
Yeah.
is we've always said the new normal. Some people want to go back to the way it was before, but
Yeah.
these areas want to burn,
Yeah.
and so you got to adapt with them. It's horrible when you lose homes and structures. 10 structures, a couple primary residences or secondary residences, but residences. But if you look up there, I got a chance to go up in Henry One in our
Yeah.
sheriff's helicopter, and it's a really well managed fire.
Yeah.
The ridge top, the fire breaks were widened by the dozers up there in those areas, the hand crews, the constant pummeling of it down for hot spots. But
Mhm.
the area is very contained. It almost looks in a lot of areas at this point like a controlled fire
Yeah.
because of those lines.
Yeah.
And so it's always tough, but you have firefighters who say this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
we
are
gotta be ready.
unfortunately these are in somewhat moderate good fires, dare I say.
Yeah.
But you can't look at somebody in the face and say that when their residence burnt down.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess the only thing else I would say is that we had with Cal Fire a 280 acre controlled burn
Right.
week and a half prior,
Yeah.
and it was very effective. So we're right on that shoulder season when we tell everybody we want to do prescribed fires, and everybody says, well, that's dangerous. And you say, yeah, but would you rather have mild and moderate fires or these catastrophic
these
ones that wait
intense-
until the fall?
right.
So
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up because I do want to make it clear and get your thoughts on it. There are still some people who wondered if this fire was related to those prescribed burns that were somewhat near Lake Sonoma.
Yeah.
That was not the case, right?
yeah, they're going to do a source investigation. That's what they do all the time, as in Cal Fire runs that and leads that. There's no indication at this point that it that it started from that. That fire was out. Not only that, it's quite a ways.
Mhm.
Also, if you look at where this fire started, it started right
On the road.
at an area where there's high human impact.
Right.
Whether a chain comes out on a trailer, there's all these boat trailers going up there, horse trailers, all these other things. Cigarette could have gone out a window, but speculation doesn't help anybody. But it doesn't look like it.
Right.
And so
Well, as-
obviously some people jump to it and they're like,
Right.
oh, online. We call it the Facebook fire,
Right.
not
Yeah.
the other fires,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But people jump to conclusions, but doesn't look like it.
Well, as we talked about with Jeff Duvall, our director of the Department of Emergency Management, most fires, 95% of our fires in California are human caused.
Yeah.
And so often it's from people on holidays, like on weekends like this, taking a boat up to the Lake Sonoma, chains dragging, somebody mowing a lawn and they hit a rock. It's just so much is the timing right. And we just need to get that word out. Right.
100%.
Yeah. Now you, as you did this time and have done before, I think going back to 2017, you were out there on the scene, providing streaming, doing videos, talking to Cal firefighters. Why do you do that?
When I did it in 2017, a part of it was because the communication was not good.
You weren't getting the word out.
Yeah, it was. We as an organization were not in the place with our Office of Communications, with our Department of Emergency Management. We didn't have the staffing. The public information officers had training, but not real live fire training for a pun in this sense is. And so in those days, I'll be very clear. The Emergency Operation Center, in my opinion, was a bunker rather than a nexus for information going in and out. And so what we started to do in 2017 was really just go get ground truth. That's what I call it. And look at the fire maps with fire officials after the 7 a.m. briefing, get out with Cal Fire Division chiefs, have them explain where the dozers lines are and other things. And because by and large, the media also projects the catastrophic images, but not the depth of the story or the situational analysis.
Yeah.
And so we started to do that, and thousands or tens of thousands of people would be like, "This is exactly what I need."
Yeah.
So you follow that. You don't, being a leader, a big part of being a leader is being a follower.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was a real inspiring time. Most social media is not used for good,
Mhm.
but it's an inspiring thing to see it be able to be used for good, and for
Yeah.
folks to be able to post and say, hey, this is really important, or I like this. This is a very succinct message. Can you get information out tomorrow, or can you get more on this? And this feedback loop can actually be positive, God
Yeah.
forbid.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and there's so many people
That's what
that
we do.
we share those videos. We get a lot
Yeah.
of positive feedback. I know
Yeah.
you do too, about the depth of information. You stand there, interview people, stand on vistas, stand before
Yeah.
maps, and really guide people where we are each
Yeah.
day. And those,
Yeah.
those are wonderful. Now, this is again, knock on wood, we haven't had a big fire since 2020. This one was controlled. They jumped on it. Great. But still, there's a lot of lessons and reminders that we have. We just got done with a 4-part series on wildfire preparedness. From your perspective, what's the most important thing you want residents to remember that, about getting ready for when a wildfire hits?
Well, in a way, use this as an opportunity to knock off the dust.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a conversation with your family about what your plan is. Make sure you know where your vital documents are.
Yeah, vital documents.
Make sure
yeah.
you know what you're going to do if you do get an evacuation warning. That means get ready to go.
Yeah.
You need to get out if we have an evacuation order, because people can do better work when they're not trying to evacuate you.
Right.
I mean, we saw that in the Kincaid fire in 2019 when we evacuated 40 to 50% of our population,
Yeah.
and they were able to stop thousands of houses from burning in Windsor, Hillsburg, and in northern or northwest Santa Rosa or northeast Santa Rosa. So the big thing is be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Get out and check your rain gutters. Get out. Make sure that you don't leave stuff when if you wicker furniture around close to your property, defensible space. If you do get evacuated and they're doing structure defense, they as in CAL FIRE or our local fire agencies, they come in and they do a quick assessment. And they
Yeah.
say, is this a defensible house?
Yeah.
Is this a moderately defensible house,
Right.
or is this like
They got
basically
too much. They got wood piles against the house and wicker furniture all around.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
and they make choices, and they're hard choices.
I mean, a big thing of Sonoma Ready has always been, the institutions of government and emergency services, but the biggest part is you and me and everything we do.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I do want to get into some other areas, but
Yeah.
obviously that's an important subject. I'm not sure everybody knows that you not only represent the 4th District here in Sonoma County, but you also represent Sonoma County's interest statewide and nationwide, and particularly in your leadership post with the California State Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties. Would you mind describing your roles with those organizations?
Yeah.
And particularly NACO.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm the incoming president of the National Association of Counties. So we have 3,069 counties across this country. It's the oldest form of government. We also have, I was the president previously and went through the leadership cycle at the California State Association of Counties. I had the joy of being the president during the pandemic and in negotiating with the state all the time for county needs. Biggest thing is that counties are where the work happens.
Yeah.
Let's just be very honest. We're the delivery mechanism. So we can either be treated as like appendages that you just throw resources at and say, do all this work, or we can be the ones who say, this is what the ground truth is. This is what we need to do to deal with behavioral health. This is what we need to do and what we need to be able to deal with housing and homelessness.
Yeah.
This is what we need from you to be able to work on whether it's, health, human economy,
Right. I mean, the
permitting.
counties are that ultimate
Yeah.
safety net for so many
Yeah.
of those.
So we're the
services.
safety net of last resort. We're also the permitters of first opportunity. So to me, big part of it is we get too many unfunded mandates. There's, where they'll pass a law and say, hey, we don't have the budget, but you have to do this. The other thing is that a lot of laws are passed that if they don't have local input, they don't hit the ground good.
Yeah.
Right? There's it sounds good. It's got a bill. It's like SB 9585.
Yeah.
This is going to save the world. And then it gets down on the ground and it was written in a way that wasn't practical.
Yeah.
And so we advise, we lobby, even though we're not lobbyists because we're counties. We make sure that funding comes in appropriately from the federal and the state. There's a lot of, I call it death by 1,000 grants.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that there isn't direct allocation to counties. A lot of times it's like we as a county, as a core entity, have to compete for grant funds with nonprofits or for-profit providers. So we're nailing it. I mean, we work around the country and locally to make sure that that we're not just sitting here on the local level being frustrated at Sacramento or frustrated at DC, but we are driving that conversation
Hmm.
of local delivery, delivering democracy in the trenches,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And
and
also envisioning the future, AI, where we're moving
getting out
on.
ahead of stuff.
Yeah, diversion on mental health and other things. And so, I mean, we're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you more about AI because that's
Yeah.
a whole other area. I do want to. We're going to invite you back to
It
talk
would be
about
great to
that.
come back and talk about the national issues
Absolutely.
impacting. I mean, AI, just as an aside, the impact on workforce, the impact on basically what would be considered routine rote work right
Yeah.
now, and how we transition workforce over into the soft touch stuff,
Yeah.
behavioral health management services,
Yeah.
human interaction.
Well, and communications,
Yep.
huge opportunities and risks too,
Yep.
On both
Yep.
sides of the things. Well, given your experiences in these leadership positions with these organizations, I mean, obviously you're able to take your experiences in Sonoma County and amplify them. I mean, there's some real
Yeah.
straight benefits here from
Mm.
Sonoma County to share our experiences with others, but also to work with other counties and coming up with solutions, right?
So there's amazing stuff going on around this country,
Hmm.
here in Sonoma County and in other counties. You don't hear about it because the headlines are what they are right now,
right.
right? You know that. You've been in media and communications for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, the details and the substance gets lost in the flashy headlines. And so, for example, I mean, we have some of the first in the nation partnerships that are delivering here in Sonoma County right now.
Mhm.
We're holding more water in our reservoirs with a partnership with the Army Corps that nobody in the country has been able to do.
Yeah.
We're holding a year's more water, a year supply of water in our reservoirs because of millions of dollars of investment and negotiation
Right.
and changing the risk profile
And
around this
technology
country,
too.
right?
Yeah.
On the other side, I put us up against anybody in terms of emergency preparedness, resilience, and all those learning experiences. So we got to take those out. But then I also need, continue to go to other areas and see what's happened with closed loop energy cycles in Nevada, what's happening with offshore wind energy in Humboldt. How will that
Mhm.
affect us? What's going on with workforce development, and then on the other side is that you got to make it rain. You got to deliver. So for me, being involved in things like at the state and the federal level it's not it's the we of Sonoma County. This is why we get things like FEMA grants for $50 million. This is why we get homeless services grants to purchase other things. Is because if we're at the table, not just me, but technicians, people smarter than me, people more detailed than me, if we don't approach that as a unit and make a case for it and also deliver, then we don't get that funding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do they say? At the table or on the menu.
Be in the room where it happens.
Yeah.
Now, you're not only in those rooms back east and elsewhere, but you're bringing a lot of these people here. And I understand you're going to have a NACO conference here in Sonoma County later this year. What do you hope will come from that?
Well, so there's a couple things. I
Mhm.
mean, first and foremost, we're going to have a very divisive presidential election.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
coming
go.
around
I think
very
the
soon.
timing. Yeah.
And so counties are the ones that have to deliver at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. I'll stop for a second and put any partisanship or anything aside and just say, the delivery of democratic programs on the ground is the most important. So getting everybody together and focusing on the product and the substance. So this will be early December. We're going to host the top kind of 300 to 400 leadership from counties around the country. Most of it's going to be mobile. So we're going to be looking at emergency services, broadband deployment here in the area.
Great.
Our Los Gilocos campus is really innovative in having a psychiatric health facility, homeless services and homeless housing, a CAL FIRE unit there in the dorms, master gardener programs, a lot of stuff there. Farm to table kind of exploration. We currently have a ballot initiative on to stop animal agriculture that I'll just
another
say
divisive
I'm
issue. Yeah.
vociferously opposed to, but we're going to go into and see about value-added organic. So rural, urban, and suburban issues that we're going to be exploring that everyone's going to take back to their area. And then we also always huddle around specific advocacy issues. Like for instance, counties, what we would like rather is with the federal government and the state government as an opportunity to have direct relationships rather than compliance relationships. That means like the amount of time that's wasted on eternal grant writing and grant compliance rather than direct funding like we had with the America Rescue Plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna roll.
That sounds
I look
great.
forward to you being
We're
there.
eager to hear more about that
Yeah.
as we get closer.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge opportunity. And Sonoma County overlaps with all those things
Yeah.
in one way or another.
Yeah.
So switching to another subject, just a week ago, it seems like more than a week ago, but you're part of the board approved a final budget for the county. You didn't have a lot of extra funds this year to work with, but you guys you addressed a number of unanswered questions and came to an agreement. Overall, how do you think that process went? And do you have any concerns about funding for the county going forward?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
it
an
was-
unanswered question about the state budget in particular. Yeah.
I mean, right? We're predominantly property tax and sales tax funded, so
Yeah.
we're not the same as the state that has the boom and bust cycle. We had a healthy budget. I mean, we definitely didn't have, as you say, a ton of extra money, but we had enough to put into core services, which I really appreciate with our county executive. Cristina Rivera is like a focus back on things like on the public safety side. We got wins with public defender, with the district attorney's office, with probation, and then with the sheriff's office moving into our narcotics unit, where we're trying to attack the fentanyl crisis more and more. We also got investments into a public health lab and a morgue. I mean, we need to have a public health lab. We learned
The
that during the
infrastructure.
pandemic.
Yeah.
So core infrastructure.
Yeah.
We got some key programs into community-based groups where, quite honestly, is people in the community trust some of these community-based organizations more than they do government.
Yeah.
And so whether you're working with promotoras or on vaccine and health, or you're working on emergency preparedness and child parent institute stuff, I mean, really beautiful work in our community that we need to support too. So I felt it was a pretty well-rounded. It was cordial. There was definite disagreement, but not divisiveness
Yeah.
and crap.
Yeah.
We don't always agree on everything, the five of us, but we were able to get to votes,
Yeah.
and I think it came out good.
Yeah. And you covered your bases, as you say, and made some progress in key areas like social
And it's not a
justice.
surprise we had
Yeah.
so many needs put on the table. I mean,
Right.
we put a lot of money into our district priorities and external last year, and so our department heads and agency heads came in and said, well, this is what we need to stabilize our departments. And so I really appreciate that challenge.
Yeah. One issue I wanted to bring up, I know social justice equity is a big issues for you, including and also language access. And I know and I've appreciated the things you said about reminding us to not just have other language opportunities, but to speak in plain language, the importance of, and that's what I think we do in the communications team is try to take some of the complex staff reports and put them in plain language for the public to understand and have, these kind of conversations that are really accessible to people. And would you talk about that a little bit about how we can make our government more accessible to the public through language?
I think the larger chatter and sometimes misguided screaming about diversity, equity, inclusion from different political sides misses what are the core responsibilities of delivering for the underserved in your area. We are the safety net of last resort. We are the safety net of first resort for most of these individuals. And that is what we're designed to do. Half of our government is health and human services, right?
Right.
Diversion programs, investing more in community, making sure that people who don't have, not only Spanish language learners, but also individuals who don't speak lawyer, I mean, we need to be simpler with our communications. We need to be more succinct and direct. We need to be reaching out to the communities that we serve. We need to have our workforce representative of the diversity of our county. And so those things are core assets. They are not just fighting
Yeah,
some
we can't
kind
look
of
them over.
ideological battle.
Yeah.
This is about delivery into your community.
Yeah.
And if you invest in your community and you hire from your community and you go for it, then you're better.
Yeah.
And so to me, diversity is a strength, and if we embrace it, and so I don't get lost in the
Yeah.
people screaming about it. I get focused on the reality. So we invested in 3 positions within the Office of Equity, community engagement on 1 with our boards and commissions, which is key. Number 2 is our language access program, and number 3 is our racial equity work.
Yeah.
And focus on internal, some external. So we're good.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about it.
Well, you go back to the fires of 2017, the pandemic. I mean, those exposed gaps we had in those areas, and connecting with our Spanish-speaking community and all members of our community, and where we can help build those bridges. And we're learning. We're learning, and I think we're making progress. Well, listen, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, but just on the personal side, what do you like most about your job?
The purpose. I'm still a purpose junkie. I do this for the same reason that I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Bolivia. I do it for the same reason that I'll go out with my kids and my wife and not just celebrate our family on Thanksgiving, but serve meals. I think service is the backbone of our world, and I think that I have an opportunity to do that at this level, and it drives me. I'm a believer in the greater good. I tell people these days my biggest pet peeve is strongly held, lightly informed opinions. It's when people are really fired up, but they don't want to challenge their thinking or one-dimensional views, or do the homework. So, I just, the purpose gets me through the BS.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of outrage and noise and distractions.
Yeah.
And so, like my goal is always to leave things better off than I found them. A lot of these are things we teach our kids. So I'm proud of the fact that we're more water resilient than ever. We're more fire resilient than ever. It doesn't mean those things are going away. We're fighting our butts off to improve our situation for our houseless residents, homelessness. I'm always focused on economic opportunity and supporting our small and medium businesses here that are the lifeblood of Sonoma County. So that still permeates and takes me through, like on the yin and the yang, that allows me to deal with
the days.
People screaming at us and having stalkers and restraining orders and things like that.
Well, it sounds to me like you want to instill that passion for service to your kids as well.
Absolutely.
And you bring them along.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I'm a public servant first, and then I do politics, not a politician who dabbles in public service.
Yeah. Well, I think you're a father first and husband. I know you. You're a family man, so it's hard to step away on Father's Day and go do other stuff. So
it's I told somebody I finally figured out work-life balance.
Yeah.
You prioritize family, and then you balance everything else out.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it.
Well, that's
and you
good.
Do the same thing.
I'm glad
My
to
son's
hear
about
that.
ready to go into. I'm excited to get him into Boy Scouts.
Oh, fantastic!
I know you led that for years too. Thank you.
Well, that's great.
He'll bring you out of retirement.
There you go. I'll dust off my uniform. Help out. Well, Supervisor Gore, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to having you back because there's so much more we want to talk about. But as a thank you for being here, we're going to give you one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs.
Yeah, I saw your stickers over there too. I was wondering if this was
stickers.
really, or if this was a sticker on a white mug, or if this was.
No, we're going to give you stickers to take with you as well. And to our listeners, we'd also like to give you all a chance to win one of our SoCo Chat mugs. Here is today's trivia question. We know that the average human runs about 5 to 6 miles per hour, unless they're Olympian, and that's maybe twice as fast as that. The question is, how fast is the average wildfire? If you know the answer, call us at 707-565-2242 or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. And if you're right, you'll get one of our coffee mugs. Also, if you have any comments about this or any other segment or have a suggestion for a future SoCo Chat discussion, please email us at that same address, publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. Thank you all. We hope you continue to follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you, James.
Thank you.